Hey y'all, it's Alexis from Ask Alexis here, and I have my good friend Jason Dixon from the Strategic Alliance Network, and he has these amazing projects in the Southeast Michigan area that he's doing. Not to mention, he has a really good background. He's here on the Comfy Couch Conversation, but before I turn it over to him, I do want to remember to ask you to like, subscribe, and share this content. If you find these conversations valuable, tell a friend. You know, we're about all things personal transformation here on the Comfy Couch. Um, so, Jason,
Yes, ma'am.
how about you tell the people a little bit about yourself before we dive into the topic of conversation?
Jason Dixon is a community activist, number one. I'm a behind the scenes type of community activist. I'm not out on the front line, but I pay attention a lot to policies and things that's needed in the community. And that started when I was younger. I happened to be had the opportunity to be an insurance adjuster at 17 doing claims. And as I was doing claims, being one of the only African Americans, I guess out of our team, we probably had maybe 10% was African Americans. And so I was able to see how we had some disparities when it came to insurance claims in our communities, with investigations and things like that. I learned about pretty much how to follow the money, where the money was going, and from the from the public sector to the private sector. If you have a claim in the state of Michigan, they take care of your healthcare insurances and things like that for the duration of your life.
Mhm.
So I was able to look at, okay, well, if you have an insurance claim, you get hurt, you got to go to a medical supply store, you got to have a nurse, you get the pharmacy paid. So I said, that's a good economic piece that we were missing in our community because we didn't have a medical supply store. We have a lack of pharmacies in our community that look like us, and just businesses, period. So as I'm moving along that economic spectrum, up in the letter, I worked for the insurance company for about 10 years. I decided to and start investing money into real estate and things. I was so young, I didn't have a family. Every time I took my tax return, they said, you need some investment, so you got some write-offs. So then that's when I learned about, hey, you have to put some money in and let that money work for you. Money really is a tool, and it could be advantageous throughout time. So during that time, I started buying two family flats in the city of Detroit. I learned about Section 8, how to really take care of our people that's at that low spectrum that want to come up, in advance. Um, and I also learned that in the city of Detroit, where you have a large, predominantly African American community, it's certain businesses that we should have in our community that are just not there. So as I built that portfolio with real estate, I decided to say, okay, now it's time to have a business. And I know by me working in corporate America, I really can't explode on my own, because I'm chained to that chair. So I put a plan together. I bought a few commercial properties and I opened up a medical supply store. And most of these things that I've done is not because I'm the smartest guy around. It's because of my relationships. It's because of me not having the fear to say what I don't know and that I need help. So when I bought, I'm gonna go to my second commercial building because my first commercial building is too long of a story. But the second commercial building I bought across the street from University of Detroit on Livernois. And I actually went to go buy, it was a lab that was on Livernois, right across the street from University of Detroit. And the funny thing about that project was I went to buy that building. It was dilapidated lab, and they wanted $300,000 for the building. And I said, "Oh, okay, this is too much for a building I got to put money into, right?" But I used to shine shoes at Franklin Hills Country Club. And there was a guy named Mr. Siegel. He owned Siegel Insurance. And thought to myself, I wonder if it's the same Mr. Siegel that owns Siegel Insurance, Cadillac Underwriters. It's a light blue buildings on Livernois for 20, 30 years, right? So as I'm looking at the building for UD, I went and knocked on his door to visit to see is it him. So I kind of put two and two together. Went in there, it was his company, went and talked to him. And he said, "What you doing here, Dixon?" I said, "I was coming to buy the building next door, but they want a little too much." He said, "Well, why didn't you come to me?" He said, "I'll give you a deal on my building. I'm ready to retire." And that's really how it all started. I looked at the relation, and it really took me back to always build, valuable relationships with people. Because if you got relationships, you can get anything done that you want. You have to have access. And that comes from your own personal leadership for yourself, because you are a business. You're a walking business. You are your business. And it taught me that throughout making these decisions for me, shining shoes at the golf course, working at Allstate Insurance, coming to buy real estate, to take the low to moderate income people, put them in housing, understand their disparities. Those things it's a cycle that you have to go through. It's levels that you go through so you can understand and win. And you can't win on your own. So he actually taught me the right way to buy a piece of property where I can manage and control my taxes and things of that nature. And then we had the medical supply store. So that was in 2003, 2004. We opened up the Dixon Medical Supply. And then once we got that accredited and got the Medicare number, 2005, we was off and running. So 2006, after we was in business and was doing so well, because of relationships, we had contracts with insurance companies and the hospital. We did a lot of business with the DMC, with the Black doctors, sending business because a lot of those doctors live in that community. So when they saw it pop up, they stopped in, and it was good for both of us because I energized them because I was so young. I was 24, 25. No, I was 26 years old. I finished when I started the medical supply, started the paperwork. I was 27 when we got everything accredited. And I put the sign out, and they stopped stopping by because it was on their way to the hospital or whatever. So I started, building good relationships. It was a physician assistant that worked for the DMC that I actually did a claim on his vehicle while I worked at Allstate. And we remembered each other, and that was a good catalyst because he liked the way that my customer service was at Allstate. I helped him out and explained everything to him, and his claim went well. So those actions that I did, my behaviors, is really dictate what my balance sheet looks like today, and having the opportunity to accomplish goals and communicate effectively with what we need in the community by listening, and not just listening for my edification, but listening to respond the way that everybody can win. And that's when we, came through with, okay, we need a pharmacy. We don't have a Black pharmacy. So we, boom, put a Black pharmacy in with IV infusion pharmacy. We didn't have that. So we put that together. We put together a home care company. We had Dixon Medical Supply, Preferred Specialty Pharmacy, and Home Infusion, and Onyx Home Healthcare. And we put that in one building right across the street from University of Detroit. So that's where I really made my real business sense strategy, learn how to put a team together, humbling myself to listen to the nurses, the pharmacists, and I learned a lot. Out of 26 employees, there was only 2 people that didn't have a college degree, myself and one of the drivers. And we did.
So your story is quite remarkable. And the reason I would say it's remarkable is because you tied in a lot of factors. Societal influence, you tied in like noticing that it wasn't as many people that look like you, noticing opportunity and gaps, and still being community minded and community focused. Mm-hmm. Because of systemic oppression, and we do talk about like whether the transformation be allyship or, just your own authenticity, or both, because we do both of them here too. We talk about these things a lot in the details of how like oppression impacts the individual. What do you think was the resilience factor for you? Like, what do you think, like, so you knew to value relationships, you understood early on that you couldn't do things alone. How did you get that mentality?
So I got that mentality really from my grandparents and my parents, because both sides, grandparents, entrepreneurship, but still corporate, right? And they always talk about the team and kids playing sports. I played football growing up, right? We played t-ball, baseball. Who was, the best person to put on first base? that can run up and catch, to catch the ball. So you got to pay attention to why this person is in this position that they put on the team that they put you in, because you can't do that. I'm not a quarterback, right? I was a defensive back. I can run fast. I'm not afraid to tackle somebody. So that's why they put me in the spot that they was in, because that's what I was good at. So you have to recognize that you're not going to be good at everything on this economic spectrum when you have a business. And you shouldn't want to be. You should want to be able to build a team where you can create revenue so you can change people's lives, especially when you look like us, because that's what I'm going to focus on. I can't tell anybody else what they should be focusing on. But since we're marginalized people, Black people, we're marginalized, Blacks and Latinos, right? We're marginalized people. So we have to make sure that we operate where we can uplift our people, and that's teamwork. You cannot do that by yourself, because what happens is only you look good, and then what happens is if you're the only person looking good and you're climbing the ladder and they see you do things and people say, now that creates envy, and you don't want to create that. What you want to create is an inclusive environment so you can sleep good at night.
I think that is so very powerful on a lot of, I like the clarity in which you understand what the influence was. So you had your elders, right? You had 2 generations back. That's something that a lot of people don't have. I know a lot of the clients that I work with, they either don't have elders, or the elders that they have might have been kind of traumatized and toxic people themselves.
So let me respond to that one real quick.
Can you just put one little small pin on it so I could wrap up this point I'm making?
Absolutely.
I think that it's also really cool that you didn't just take the approach that I had it. You say, I had it, I see people don't have it, how can I make it better for them? So I think that that's another aspect of realizing that you can't, just because you had it easy or not easy, however you had it, if your goal is to make it better for everybody, if everybody rise, you rise too.
And you rise even quicker though.
That is true.
You rise quicker because you got people, when you tired, you got people that can hold you up. You got people that you've already told the story to, so they know your goals, right? To say, no, don't stop, don't quit. I'm excited about what you're doing. And you pour that into it. So let me say this. I was going to say one other thing, but remind me to go to interdependent relationships. But you said the people who might not have a grandparent or a parent, right? What I learned was what my grandparents and my parents didn't have, it's in a book. It's in a book. So you can have Robert Kiyosaki in 1997. I remember I was in between checks. And I lived on Greenview and Outer Drive, and it was a bookstore, it was a Black bookstore on Outer Drive Outer Drive.
These are in Detroit, y'all.
In Detroit. It was a black bookstore. Black lady owned it. Went to the bookstore. I didn't have enough money to buy the book. I actually walked to the bookstore because I just bought a house, took everything I had, and I walked to the bookstore. I had enough money money for gas and some food. And I said, okay, I'm not gonna drive no place because I ain't want nothing happening. So I walked to the bookstore and I picked up that book, Robert Kiyosaki, right? And the lady said, she's like, are you gonna buy the book? I said, I can't buy it right now, but I'm gonna come back and buy it. So I went and I read that book every day. I would go to work, get off, park my car, walk to the bookstore, ride my bike, and I'll read that book. And Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki became my mentor. So you can say what you don't have, but you do have it. You have to have the attitude to say, I do have, because everything that you want to do, somebody has done it. Somebody has done it.
So that's the work that I do with individuals. Mm-hmm. But the work that with individuals of low privilege, typically BIPOC, mm-hmm. I do that work of building that resilience, helping people understand that even though it's a whole lot against you, there are ways to be found, and sometimes you just gotta make incremental progress and stay the course. Right. However, for people with high privilege, I teach them about systemic factors and how much personal resilience you have to expend to be able to get to ground zero, depending on what your life has been like. Because so it's a both and approach, right? Like, yes, I do understand that just because you don't have don't mean you can't get, but it is a privilege more often than not to have those factors, and they make you better equipped to accomplish things, and
Yes.
to be better equipped to be able to think of things for that are bigger than yourself. So like, I can't remember who said it, but I know my mama used to repeat it to me all the time, but I understand it's a quote from one of our ancestral leaders: to whom much is given, much is required.
I used to hear that growing up my whole life. My whole life, because they would always say, your life does not have to be this way. If I teach you how to, my grandfather used to say, if I teach you how to put the brakes on the car, you need to have a couple of your friends know how to help you put the brakes on the car too. So one day y'all can make some money. He always used to equate, if he taught me something, you got to share this, and you got to share it with somebody else. Don't just hold it to yourself, because you can't grow that way. If you're the only person, if you're the smartest person in your group, you need to get you another whole other group that you could be the low man on totem pole so you can rise. And you got to be able to exercise that. You got to be okay to go in a room with somebody who doesn't look like you, and ask the questions that you don't know, and be okay with it.
So let's talk about that right now, because you don't have a look that is typical. And yet
No.
you are speaking, and yet you are eloquent, you're well accomplished, you're confident. How do those two things, how did you find that comfort within yourself to be able to say, this is the way my hair grow out my head, this is what I look like, that doesn't make me who I am. I don't have to conform.
So my hair started with two things happen. Me growing my hair long. I had a friend that had cancer and was gonna lose their hair. So I said, okay, I'm gonna grow my hair as long as I can. I'm gonna cut off and I'll give it to you. So that was the first time. The second time, I had some young people that went to school, to a pretty much all white school, that had long hair, that wanted to grow their hair out, like, because this is fashionable in our communities, right? And the young people that I was mentoring, the kids, and I said, well, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. I said, I'm gonna grow my hair, you grow your hair. We used to meet at the barbershop on 7 Mile, and they would come to the barbershop, and I was at the barbershop. So we was growing our hair together. And I said, I'm gonna give a speech at your school, and I'm gonna talk about my life, and I'm gonna talk about what I do. And I'll bring my tax return to show them the hair has nothing to do with your actions. It's your fashion.
So because you were able to be in relationship, because both stories have to do with you being in relationship with another person,
Yes.
that's where you found the experience of getting comfortable with your own hair.
Yes. I mean, I already had so when Allen Iverson was in Detroit, I was still young, and he had braids, right? So I grew my hair then. I was in corporate America too. And I said, okay, I've been winning these awards. I'm gonna see, can I pull it off? And I pulled it off. Nobody said anything. They was like, oh, I like that. It was all positive. They didn't say it to my face. If they said something negative, didn't say it to me, because number one, I was getting awards and saying I was best in the country at what I was doing. I was best in the state, best in the country. So I was getting sent all over the country with awards. So they really couldn't say too much to me, because I have built up my status, so to speak, where I can get away with these things, because they knew I was intelligent. And I was solving problems when they had an emergency with customer service, and they say, okay, call Dixon, let him solve that claim. So at the end of the day, I already have built myself up and worked very hard, where you can't say too much to me. I'm not going to be disrespectful, but I want to make sure I'm an asset to whoever I'm dealing with. Any relationship, I'm not a liability. I want to make sure I'm always an added value, because that's how I was taught. When you're in the classroom, raise your hand, give the answer, exercise your brain. Make sure you stand out so you can do the things that you want. You'll be able to reap the benefits of being you.
So let me ask you this then, because that's a wonderful story, and it gives you resilience out of this world. I was taught to, I was programmed to achieve and to stand out and to, definitely be added value. Don't take away from value.
Right.
How did you not get the counter story of don't take help unless you absolutely need it, or even the stories of, dang it, it left me just that quick. Oh man.
Don't have everybody in your business.
No, that wasn't it. But you stand out and achieve. That was what you were taught. What about when you, like, say you do your best and your best ain't good enough? How you deal with
Good
that?
enough to who?
Anybody, like even to yourself, like that. We've all had times, or I don't know, maybe you haven't, but so if you're very achievement driven and some don't go your way,
It's a learning lesson. No, it's always learning. Look,
okay, so you
look.
treat it as,
It's a whole.
you get that mentality
It's
to
a
where it's a
whole
lesson
lot.
and not a failure.
It's because everything. My grandfather used to say, everything you do is not going to work out the way you want it to, but you got to learn what didn't work out right. Look at who's on the team, your weak link on the team. Were you the weak link on the team? Did you not address certain situations? Did you look up case studies and the things that you want to get done? Because it's case studies on everything. Did you read up on it? Did you do your homework? Did you go to the table like you knew everything? Or did you go to the table saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This has been done here. I believe we can achieve this with the right people on the team. And then as I'm picking a team, did I pick the right people that really believed in themselves? I'm learning this today. This is what I'm learning right now. Right now, this is a message I think people should hear. If you're putting together a team to do something, make sure the people on your team believe in themselves. Because if they don't believe in themselves first, they cannot believe in you and believe in something, a change that they haven't seen before. If they have not been a part of change and they don't have that type of courage, because it takes courage to accomplish these goals. It takes courage to put a team together, because a lot of people are going to tell you no. No, I don't want to, you can't do that. Or no, nobody cares about that. Or that's not a problem. And then you have to be able to go get data and show them where the problem is and show them some solutions and some solution that could work in your community. And sometimes you have people that look like you, that are your color, but not of your kind. And you got people that are your kind and not of your color.
All skin folk ain't kin folk.
That's right. But you have to look at who's talking about the goal. All the other stuff is noise to me. What you going through because you want a car, or you want a bigger house, or you want to go shopping, or you want to go on a cruise, a vacation, that's noise to me. That's noise to me. Because at the end of the day, if we have an opportunity to change the trajectory of our next generation coming up, that's what we need to focus on right now. Because this is the time we're in. We're not in the 90s when money was plentiful and we can go on trips, get a car every 2 years. You know, that's over with. It's tight. The money is tightening up for the wealthiest people. His money is tightening up. Opportunity is here, but the way money was 20 years ago is not the same the way it is today. It's not. Who would ever know that the majority of our baby boomers will be buying groceries and things online today?
Yeah,
But
we
it's
not
happened.
plan for that.
It's happened because of COVID. Okay, we wasn't planning for that, right? Things are shifting so much, right? Who would think that you would have a black president, right? You had a black president. Some people benefited, some people didn't.
We got
Right?
a black woman vice president now.
And right now you have a black woman that's vice president right now. She's an AKA too. So that's like a ripple effect throughout our communities, because she's an AKA, a black sorority.
These are ripple effects, and I do want to, these are monumental changes, but one of the things I want to be clear is black excellence does not, like, I don't want to paint the picture that just because we have people who are excellent in our community that it's okay to oppress the rest of our community.
Oh no, listen.
I know
That oppression
I got a twofold approach, so I always want to make sure that both
I'm with you.
being acknowledged.
I'm with you. We really have to, if you focus on uplifting the lowest of the low, that they say is the lowest of the low, if you focus on that, everything will balance out. Everything will balance out.
Yes. Amen. Hallelujah.
Because if you take a community, and we're working on a community in right outside of Detroit, right? If you take those people, just imagine this. We got a community that has 680 people on Section 8. If you focus on 10% of those people every year and say, I'm going to take 68 people and we're going to financial literacy, we're going to make sure they have workforce development, and we make sure they have opportunity to purchase a home.
And emotional intelligence is out.
Look, you're right. Emotional intelligence, right? You are absolutely right, because you have to be able to handle these things that's coming at you, right? And support that. And if you talk about, the data that they have on Black people is, we're supposed to, in the next 20 years, we're not going to have any wealth, right? So if you're in middle class, if you're anywhere in Black America, that should be alarming to you. That somebody's going to tell you what's going to happen to your future. You telling me today, you're planting that seed in my head that we're not going to own anything. You're supposed to get up every day, exercising. Look, that's not happening to me. Matter of fact, we're going to have triple what we got today in 20 years, and we're going to put the plan down. And if you're not talking about that plan of the people that's low income, workforce development, emotional intelligence, and those economics things, kick rocks. You're the problem. If you're the problem, if you're the person who's saying what can happen, you're the problem. If you're the person who's saying what people are not going to do, you're the problem. Give it an opportunity.
You're complicit for sure.
Absolutely. And I don't subscribe to that kind of stuff.
So I don't either, but I also want to make sure that I'm inviting people in rather than shaming them away. So for me, my approach is, I'm going to tell you about the problem, because even that the fact that you don't want to participate, I see as a effect of the problem. And so that's a part of the stuff that I have to be remedying when I'm doing the 68 people, which is why I threw in emotional intelligence.
Right.
Because building resilience in people, trust me, personal transformation is hard as fuck.
It is.
Building resilience in people is something that you have to have, well, I can't say you have to have done it yourself, but it helps a whole lot.
It does.
But it takes time. And
you have to know what they go through mentally. That mental piece is what it is, because your thoughts can help you achieve the goal or can sit you in a digression position, right? So I used to be an alcoholic, right? I mean, drinking every day at the bars, doing business, but drinking. And then I found out, I got a taste for this. I was dating a young lady I was really in love with, right? And she said, Jason, with your leadership skills and the position you're in, you need to stop drinking so much. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna stop drinking, right? So the power of emotion, the power of love helped me pretty much stop drinking, right? Because I was like, okay, she's saying this, I gotta be responsible to people I care about and people that care about me, right? So I had to really stop hanging out so I could stop drinking.
Because if you didn't, if you hung out, you was gonna drink.
I was gonna drink, and if she wasn't with me to give me that look, I was gonna drink. And it wasn't like I couldn't afford it, so I'm gonna drink. So I said, okay. I also was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, right? So that had to help me. That helped me not want to drink too, because they was like, as you stop drinking, that can help, and you have a better diet. That can get you back in shape pretty good. But really what it was her, because I didn't want her looking at me crazy, talking crazy to me. So I had to figure out that formula so I could stop drinking, and I didn't want to go to an AA meeting. So I had to fight that fight. So what I did was, this is crazy.
Not that there's anything going wrong with going to AA.
No, it's nothing wrong. It just wasn't for me.
Society harm your mental health. If you,
no, it was, yeah, right. It wasn't for me. I was trying to figure this out, right? So I wouldn't have to be spending time going places, and I didn't want to do all that. And I kept telling myself I was strong. I got myself in here. I'm about to get myself out. So I started exercising. I changed my diet. We took a lot of no more pork at all. Any of those things, anything that said it was like bad for you, I ate more chicken, more lamb, things of that nature, things that digest better, and I was drinking better teas, and I started picking up a different habit. My habit that I started picking up was, how do I start solving problems in my community? And that's when the strategic alliance community development came about, pretty much, because I was taking that energy instead of me hanging out at the bar and hanging out at the party of, let's figure out, can we get some things together in the community where we can take the young people, teach them some things. I can share my stories with them of the things that I've been through and how they can, change their trajectory. And that's what did it.
So tell us about Strategic Alliance then.
So we have a group of great guys, basketball players, business leaders, community folks, and we're all friends from business. I've had Pistons tickets since I was 19 or something, and so I got to meet all the players because my row was right when you come into the locker room, so I get to meet all the players and stuff. And I used to do the Tampa Smiley Report with Mason in the morning, so I did that, and so I got a chance to meet players and things. And then I had so throughout the years you build these relationships with people because you're in the know. So I started talking about what can we do in our community. So we was already doing some things in the community without having a nonprofit, a 501c3. So in 2009, when Obama changed the law for energy, that 10% of your energy from each state had to be renewable, we jumped on that. Matter of fact, the gentleman that was the architect for Harold Werner was the architect for the African American Museum. He came and talked to me about it. I was just getting 2009, 2010. I was just going through the multiple sclerosis bout. So he was working, talking to me while I was sick and saying, when you come out, I want you to work with about this solar energy thing. And I'm like, I read the policy. So I had already read the policy while I was in the hospital trying to get better. And he talking to me about it. So I knew I was fluent with it. So we did my building on Livernois. We did 15 kilowatts of energy on my building. And then I made my building a place for Livernois to tour, to come see my building, see the solar that we had. I showed them my building, things of that nature. So I got them interested. And then between 2010 and 2013, we did 1.2 million on Livernois in solar energy without charging the owners. We didn't charge them.
How you do that?
We worked with installers, people who needed to get their resume built. It's called a 1603 grant, right? That you got, and then we sold the tax credits to DTE. So I learned something. I don't know nothing about. Didn't know anything.
Wait a minute. You got a grant for the equipment.
Yeah, it was 1603.
Hold on. Let me make sure I understand. You got a grant, a 16 what grant?
1603 grant. They don't have it anymore. It was a tax credit.
Okay. Right? And that got you the equipment. You work with people who needed to build their resumes and stuff as installers. And then you did not charge the owners, and you sold the tax credits from the this is with solar panels?
Yes.
To DTE to make revenue.
Yes. To pay, the gap in money.
Okay. That is cool.
Yeah, so we did that. So let me tell you what I did.
I think DTE be stealing my energy. I don't feel like they give me enough discount.
Well, I'm gonna say this. And don't take this the wrong way, but we don't read enough about how to protect ourselves. If we read enough how to protect ourselves, because it's policies there. If we read enough and we showed up at those policy meetings like we're supposed to, we can change anything we want.
Well,
we don't talk about it enough.
I agree with you, Jason, and I don't take it the wrong way. I'm still in the process of learning how much I don't know. Sometimes it's not a matter of not being willing to go look in the book or not being willing to find out. It's not known. It's the unknown unknowns.
Absolutely.
And unknown unknowns, you can't do nothing about it until you know. That's just a part of the journey. But
you're right.
My bills did go down when I got my solar panels installed and my roof insulated and my rim joist insulated, and then the walls in a couple rooms where it was real cold.
Right. So we have those are things. 40%. So those are things that need to be part of our conversation. When we have the family gatherings and things, what you doing at your house to save money? Share the information.
Oh, I be sharing.
Yeah,
But sometimes people don't want to put the investment in it. I put an investment in it because the for me, caring for the planet is also important. Like
yeah.
I care, like it came from a different place. I realized too that I wanted when I have, because I got my dream of R&R Village.
Mhm.
Um the homes that are there, I want them to be energy efficient and have a lower cost of living and also be multifamily
Right,
or multi-generate, like be designed for multi-generational living. And so
right.
my house was a proof of concept as far
Mhm.
as the design for multi-generational living. And that the solar panels was about reducing the cost of living.
Right. Absolutely. Because if you take an average $80 out of house, $80 you put it back in the house because you have solar panels, because now you're not paying $8 a month. That with a single parents thing, that goes a long way.
Hmm.
You don't realize it till you don't have it. You don't know until you don't have it, or you know now because I have it.
The thing is, people who are of means don't realize how far dollars can stretch the way that people who are without means do. But
Yes.
people who are without means don't realize how easy it is to make money because how far they got to stretch their dollars.
Hmm.
And it's a psychological program. And so bridging that gap is very important to me, and working with the mindset and personal transformation. Because a lot of people, even a lot of my clients, they are high achievers, right?
Hmm.
But that's because they so busy trying to like earn their way out. A lot of people are programmed that you have to achieve or do to exist and be valuable.
Yes,
And
that's not true.
I understand. Please believe I understand and teach that. That's my part of my gift to the community, is to teach that. But getting out of that mind, even if you out of the poverty, being out of the scarcity mindset, out of your, because those things work for you in a different life. So people be having a whole lot of identity attached to it, but it's from a life that they don't live no more.
Yes,
And
I
it's time
understand.
for a whole new identity.
So
They
yes,
can't let go of those scarcity protections because they think they're gonna die. There are a
so
lot
I went through that.
actual scarcity in your life, like where food. I'm also telling the audience too.
Mhm.
If you've had food scarcity or housing scarcity, your survival really is at risk. A lot of times when you make it out and you are stable, something happens, your fear response immediately jumps to that scarcity, to like, if I don't get another job, or if they gonna come in and I'm gonna get fired, and next thing you know I ain't gonna be able to eat. And it's a whole bunch of steps between somebody coming on board to you actually being fired, to you not being able to pay your bills, to you losing your house, to you eating. But if your fear tell you to jump from there, you're not thinking clearly in none of this way. You might even manifest getting there.
Yes, yes, you can't do that. Your
So
mind is a antenna to the universe. What you say, so it starts in your mind, and then when you speak it, right? And then some people journal things, positive and negative. So if you're going through that process on a regular basis, the universe is going to bring that stuff to you, rather whether it be good or bad. So I'm working with somebody right now with their thoughts, because everything that happens is always a negative of what can happen. And I'm like, let's change that. Let me show you that you can change that. So I'm putting them in different environments that they would never thought they would be in, meetings that they never thought they would be in, to show them that, look, this is possible. You got 2 degrees. I don't have no degree. This is possible. Let's take what you have and add some value, right? Let me show you what to do. Let me give you a joke. Well, your attitude is okay. Then let's work on attitude. Wake up in the morning and say, "Good morning. I'm Dixon. How you doing today?" I had to practice those things. I,
people don't, that's another thing. It is hard for me to get some of my one-on-one clients to role play.
oh, you got to
Because
role
they
play.
don't, the thing is, they be feeling so awkward. And it's kind of, well, what you think gonna happen in the moment if you feeling awkward right now? And I'm here specifically
To help you.
to support you. Like
Yes,
this is the safest place for you to
yes,
role play you gonna
yes.
have, and you think you just gonna show up on the spot and kill it.
Right, and that don't happen.
Always
That's
the
not gonna
case.
happen
That
because you
happens sometimes, but it not
practice
nearly
makes
as often as we think.
practice makes improvement. And one of the reasons why I speak well is because I took extemporaneous speaking in high school. So those things that you did, when you was younger, they roll up to you when you get older, and it builds your confidence. That's why young people should be team sports, play chess, play soccer, play something. Do something with people. Don't be by yourself. Don't tell your kids they don't need anybody. Don't do that, because that kind of hurts them. Because I've had some people with my mama tell me I don't need nobody.
That's also, it makes it incumbent upon us to keep mobilizing the vote, though, because gutting school programs, right? So you talked about all of these things are resilience factors and a part of raising responsible citizens of society.
Yeah.
Team sports. So if you are a child of neglect, ain't nobody taking you to the sporting events, ain't nobody making sure you can play. If it ain't at your school and you can't stay after, and you don't have the self-discipline to decide to play, then that's just something you can't, and then you don't have those skills either. So it's not just the loss of like being able to do it. It's now you're an adult who don't know how to be a team player because you never gained that experience.
I have a problem with that.
So we got to mobilize the vote and tell people, and we got to get people seeing these connections because people don't know how to connect it.
So what I encourage my friends to do that's in corporate America, or just work with my friends, period, share your story with some kids, because you don't go from zero to a hero overnight. It's steps, it's levels, it's losses, it's gains. It's you lose some friends. I had a best friend, my best friend. I actually hired my old boss. The person who hired me at Allstate, he retired, and I hired him for my company. And we was doing claims, right? And case management for claims. And one of my best friends gave away one of the secrets to somebody who was trying to get into business but wouldn't come to talk to me. And I said, I'm not gonna just give them this formula. We all work for this. And I got to pay this man who came out of retirement to help us out. And I lost a friend because he didn't know how to operate when it comes to business. He's a good person, but we can't do business like that, because you can't just give our secrets away to somebody because you like them, whatever. And now we got issues. We can't do that. So you're going to go through a whole lot of stuff in business, in life, and you're going to learn some things. And then you're going to learn, was that valuable to do, or was that a learning lesson? How do I handle those things with emotion? How do I manage? Because this is not checkers. This is not checkers. This is not, I'm going to make a move because you made a move. No, I'm going to have a process in where I want to get to and who I'm going to have at the table. And if I'm not invited to the table, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to create the table. I'm going to create the table for my next generation. I have a daughter, and my grandmother's told me a long time ago, you're going to have kids one day, and you're going to have to wonder who your kid going to be hanging around, who your child is going to marry. So you better learn how to do something as a group, some people that y'all can grow up with, and maybe your kids will see their family, your family doing good, and they might like each other like your grandfather and I. So I was told that you have to make sure you attract, what you put out. You're gonna attract those things. So if my heart and my mind is always to better my community, speak positive about my community, solve problems with my community, even if it hurts me sometimes to go show up when I'm dead tired and I got to show up and be there for one of my friends that's having an event, I got to do it. I got to do it. I started a radio on Urban Nation Radio. The people that we did this in 2014, they didn't have any money to put in. I put the money up for the radio station, invited them in. We was banging. 10,000 people online. We went to the Detroit Jazz Fest. It was one of the first online radio stations at the Jazz Festival at the African American Museum. We was interviewing people. You got to do those things so other people can be energized and excited, because you can. And you got to make them be a part so you all can grow, because you can't not change things in the community without a team. Just like voting. You had to get people to keep talking about voting. On my Build No Living Noise, one of the board members, the state education board called me and said, Jason, do you mind us putting a mirror on your building? Sure. You go down living noise in my building, it says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, vote. So that's my contribution. I got an asset. It's a billboard because the building is so big. So you can see that going down the street. And that's triggering somebody's mind to vote. So I say, okay, well,
I call people and I organize the virtual party. Didn't nobody show up, but I organized the virtual party and then I called people. I keep hitting this camera. I called people and I engaged in the voting process, and I shared by way of social media. I also, though it's COVID-19, people I came in contact with in person, like if the repair guy came to my house, like, you voting? You voting? You voting? Because raising awareness and getting people to talk about it. We had record numbers this election.
right.
It takes being active, but I will say this. So I'm one of the people who grew up not having, and I had to learn and traverse life and teach myself these things. I happen to be a nerd, so I don't, and I was raised with the value of education. So I like going and looking in a book or meeting people. The thing that I had to learn was relationship skills as opposed to just survival skills.
Mhm.
How do you think, what, in your opinion, what is, if there could only be one generational shift in your lifetime that would help influence our community, what would it be? Like, which one? If you had a magic wand and this, no matter what, this gonna be the only one that get through in this generation, but it'll get all the way through, what would you pick?
Know your history.
Just a person or the whole society?
Black people
Yeah.
and brown people, know your history. Know your history. You can give a person economics, but if they don't know their history, they're not going to be able to keep it. You can give people money, but if they don't know the history of money and the history of oppression, they're not going to keep it. If they don't understand that, a lot of this generation does not understand oppression. They don't understand prior to 1690 or something, right? You have to know that we came from greatness.
16,
It's a it's
19,
a pardon me,
19, 16,
19 what?
19,
19 what?
16, 19.
1619. Yeah, 1619. Okay. But prior to that, you had King James was a black man who's on a coin. You have to know about your history, and things have happened to us for a reason. They've whitewashed, like Jesus. You go, my mom worked for the archdiocese, and my dad had a problem with this. We would go to a Catholic church or whatever. We be with my mom, and then it's a picture of a white Jesus, right? So my dad had to really take us through it for us to understand that Jesus wasn't white. We grew up in, watch this. I grew up in Albion, Michigan, which was predominantly white at the time, right? And then I grew up in Muskegon. And prior to that, when I was a baby, I was in Ohio, in Palmer, Ohio. Then we went to Saginaw, right? Because my dad was a corporate manager for Kmart. And it was when my brother and I went to school, there was no black kids. And my mom worked for the archdiocese. So you got to understand, we was trying to figure some things out, right? Why? And then we saw oppression in the school, because like the kids give us all their chocolate milk. So one time we came in the lunchroom and the whole lunch table was full of chocolate milk. Everybody put their chocolate milk out where we sit at. What you telling us? Then another time they brought all the white milk. Well, they said something to them. We're gonna give them all the white milk. It's just little things that kids did to mess with you. When it was time to get your hair with lice, we had to go through lice. And we don't know nothing about that. Ain't no lice in my head. We had to go home and talk to my dad about it. My dad said, okay, I'm gonna go to the school. We're gonna have a talk to them. And my dad explained to us, you don't get lice. Your hair is different, yada, 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 right? So without those things, we would have had some issues without our dad. we would have some real issues. Because people are cruel. White people are cruel. Black people cruel too, but white people are really cruel. I'm sorry. I went through it. All I can tell you from my experience, they're cruel growing up. And that better than less than thing, that's real. That's real to this day. I remember when I went to work, it was somebody at Allstate said, "You got my son's job." Huh? Okay. But watch this. I had a black man tell me that at a body shop, you shouldn't have had that job. My son should have that job because my son's been working in my body shop his whole life. And we look like each other, right? So a lot of those things can psychologically can hurt you because you feel like you done took from somebody else. And then you have to ask, was this really for me? So we all go through those things, and a lot of people bash that. I tell the truth. Because look, I need to share with you what I'm going through so you can know how to handle it.
How did you learn the importance of that? Because a lot of people, like you said, some people just take it and they tuck it in. And life is life. We're going to have to traverse it, and we can do things to impact it, but we still got to live it while we impacting it.
So my grandma's
So
a
how did
clinical
you learn
psychiatrist.
knowing you had to process your feelings?
My grandma's a clinical psychiatrist.
Oh, okay.
So she had two really bad, she raised a lot of kids, right? But she had two kids that was failures to her. She had my uncle, her first child, my Uncle Leroy, which is a very, very intelligent guy, ophthalmologist, was in and out of jail his whole life, but learned how to do glasses. And then his son, my first cousin, swimming, Olympic material. They spent a lot of money on him, you know, going around the state of Michigan, swimming and all that kind of stuff, but he just became a mess up. And my grandmother told me, she said, I can't have you being in my house and we don't really communicate effectively. She said, if it's something that you feel, whatever it is, you need to just tell me and we can deal with it. She said, you don't have to lie about anything. She said, because we all make mistakes. And my grandmother went down this list one day when she came in. She had a notepad and she shared with me. She said, here's a list of the mistakes that I made, that I see as mistakes. And I'm going to show you how to take your mistakes and turn them to learning lessons so you don't have to do it no more. And we went through that process. I was getting kicked out of school like 75 going south, all kind of stuff. My mouth, fighting, selling candy, pop cans. I used to take the pop cans so I could have, a couple of dollars to the stove. We had a pop machine in the school, got kicked out for that. All these things, and there wasn't nothing wrong with it. It was my mind worked a little differently. And I said, okay, well, if I can take these pop cans that they paying 10 cents, they put it in this little drawer, and the kids pay the 10 cents. They put them in the garbage pretty much. I'm taking these to the store. I'm gonna get that 10 cents. The school didn't like that. I process it differently. Like, this is the way to do. So my grandparents, they sat down and they spent a lot of time with me. Thank God for them. Because they didn't. I've been all this energy I have in my mind, all things I want to do, I've been terrible. Flat out. But they spent time with me when I said I know, when I really know, how the kids say, I know. They didn't let that stick with me. They kept on going. And didn't say, well, you know it all, I can't tell you nothing. That came out sometime with my grandfather, but every time I got in that man's car, it was a lesson. It was a lesson about somebody. My grandfather took me on the bus before I got a car, and he said, Jason, people on the bus, it's all types of people on this bus. It's doctors on this bus, it's lawyers on this bus, it's future doctors, it's future lawyers, future basketball players on this bus. Don't disrespect people. You don't know who you're gonna get encounter with, right? And he asked me, he said, Jason, I want you to talk to 3 people on this bus today. So I had to say, hi, my name's Jason. I just want to know what you're doing. I'm doing this program with my grandfather and I have to talk to people. That's what I did. And they said, okay, well, my name is Stanley and I'm a firefighter. So you're a firefighter, why do you ride the bus? I just ride the bus. I haven't save money for a car because I want a house. And he told me that story. And he ride the bus to work. He don't go nowhere else but to the fire station. That's what he kind of explained to me. I remember that story. And my grandfather would come back and say, what did you learn from that story? He's focused on his goal to get a house. Okay, so he has go. So now the story turns into goals. So he'll pick the word. So he's a goal, right? Okay. So that taught me about goal setting. And those kind of things, they took me through those processes. So because they had 2 messed up kids that came out their house. They couldn't have 3. Bottom line, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And they wasn't easy people to get along with. They were middle class. They were upper middle class Black people that have accomplished some major goals. And it was not easy to communicate with them. It wasn't. But, you know, by me practicing with like my grandmother said, tell me what you got going on, what your feelings are. By me practicing on them, I can handle anybody. Set me in front of a bank, a vice president of a bank or something. I'm not intimidated. I'm gonna turn that around. I'm gonna intimidate you about what I know. Matter of fact, I had a meeting with the bank and I told them, you know, I recognize you guys have been faring well on the stock market with your stock prices. Your CEO's doing a very good job. And guess what? They didn't know what their stock price was. So I diffused the situation up front. And I learned that from my grandmother and work being an insurance adjuster. You delay, derail, and disassemble. I don't care what you do. You delay so you can get your thought process together. You derail, get them shook up, and you disassemble. You take them apart. Now you're in control of the situation. So at the end of the day, we can win, but you can't sit here and say these things that you're not. You can't say, well, I'm a winner, but you're not exercising the right to be a winner. Like I exercise the right to have my hair like this. When I come into a room, I can tell a good story. I can show you where I failed at something. And I can show you where I won at some things too. I can show you where I picked the wrong team. I also can show you where I picked the right team. I can show you where I picked the right team and my team won, but I still lost. So we can have that win on my resume, so to speak. And I'm okay with that. It's okay because I'm building my story. So when I die, I got a story. I want to have a story. When I'm gone, I want my daughter to be like, here go my daddy book. So my daddy, he here. He's not here with me right now, right? But he's here with me. Like my father's here with me. I talk about my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my grandfather, because all of them poured into me things that I needed. They showed me what love really was. Love is not buying me anything. That's not love. Teaching me how to think, teaching me to know my history, teaching me to know what my trajectory for tomorrow. That's love. And we're supposed to share that with each other. If you're down and out with something, I'm supposed to try to influence positivity to you. It don't cost nothing. That costs nothing for me to say something positive. Nothing.
It is quite beneficial to do so. But don't worry, y'all. If you didn't have that stuff, hire somebody like me and we'll work you through the journey of getting that stuff.
Absolutely.
Because he's not wrong or he ain't lying. He is telling the truth. We are supposed to support. It's survival of the most unified, not survival of the fittest.
No.
The fittest are the people who know how to unify in the most. So, I mean, hell.
You gotta keep, we have to be able to protect. And I'm gonna tell you a movie. The Fast and the Furious. Fast and the Furious, I just saw it a couple days ago. And the end of the movie, the guy Torino who jumped out the car in this last series they protected him from the flame with the cars, and they put the cars around him. So that means your team came to protect you, so you can move forward to the next step, next level, because you can't do it by yourself. If you watch movies, they tell you certain things. I'm not just watching the picture because it's exciting. I'm watching the picture to the message. My grandfather had us watch The Godfather over and over again. My grandfather said, look at his relationships. State rep, judge, mayor, banker, accountant, doctor. Somebody got shot. They had a doctor they could send them to.
So social capital is when I work with, well, when I was an adult literacy instructor, this came up a lot more as a direct definition. And then too, when I'm teaching people allyship, I teach that, how these different societal factors limit the amount of social capital marginalized people have access to. But what social capital is what you're talking about. The relationships, the power that you can attain within your relationships, whether it be educational power, whether it be influence power, whether it be like, if I got like a doctor, I'm physically injured and I need you to help me. Those
Yes.
kind of things are social capital. And if everybody in your small network don't have, then that means that's that privilege too, having access to that. So like, it's privilege inside marginalized identity too, because it's a privilege to have access to that. It's a privilege. Like what's funny though is, even in The Godfather, the dude with the highest rank had the most access to the most relationships.
Yes. Yes. But you have to say, I want that. You have to say, I want that. I want that. I don't care about a shoe. I don't care about a car. Because if I got access, I can get all those things. But we have to shift our mind.
But you was raised to think like that. Other people wake up at a certain age and say, I want that. And they are grown as fuck learning how to do that. And it's still, you've been doing it, but how old are you?
I've been doing it for a long time, but guess what? Okay. I still don't, but listen, I still don't always succeed.
For a long time, so you don't know nothing else to do.
But watch this, but I don't always win.
Nobody does. That's
right, absolutely. Because it doesn't matter how much time you're doing it. But if the universe don't line the right people up, that's able and willing, that's economics. If the universe don't line up, you're still not gonna win, because the timing is not right for everybody to receive what you're pushing.
That's a hard lesson to learn on a journey. That's a tough one to right.
Look, and I exercise.
Proud of having that, but I remember learning that lesson, and I learned it through a whole hell of a lot of disappointment.
Well, that's how you learn that a losing is not losing; it's really a lesson. Because sometimes you lose somebody. Like I've lost some relationships that I thought I was gonna be married, right? But then after I hung out a little bit, I said, "Oh no, we don't need that. No, that's not a loss. That was a liability." But now it's an asset, because I know how to communicate effectively with this person. You get where I'm coming from? So we can stay friends and grow, right? Every time you have a relationship with someone, you think it's a loss. No, it's not a loss. It's education. Because now you see how that person operates. And they might not operate the way you want to operate, or vice versa, right? But you have to learn how to stay cordial, because everybody has a value. Everybody has value, and everybody can be more valuable. I mean, I know people that was strung out on drugs that was a really asset to me, because guess what they said? Jason, don't do this. Jason, don't hang around these people. Jason, if that girl's not speaking your language, stop talking to her. You can't make them change. You can do a little bit at a time, but hey, look, you got to go. Focus on the goal. Talk about your goal.
He said you can do a little bit at a time.
It's baby steps.
Can't make them change, so you can do a little bit.
Yeah, you can do a little bit at a time. But look, I'm not an expert at that. Jason, let them go to the expert. Let them go see Alexis. Go to Alexis. Don't go. You don't do that. Don't take that on. Send them to Alexis, and you still helping them out. But you encourage a little bit, right? Tell them where you messed something up.
I did have one client whose boyfriend hired me.
Okay, see what I mean?
One client, her boyfriend was like, "I'm reaching out on behalf of." She needs somebody to talk to.
See what I mean? So, but we have to share that stuff. We got to be honest. Look, I'm gonna tell you what I am, what I'm not. I'm not a person to type. I'm not that guy. I can think of it. I can talk through the process. I can connect you to who you want to get connected with. And look, now sometimes for people, I don't even know if they were there, but it don't matter, because it ain't up to me. I'm going to do all those things. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, that's on you. I'm not one of those people that say, I can't introduce you to them. You mess up my name. No, you ain't. Because guess what? I'm supposed to introduce you to people so you can grow.
Only way you mess up my name is if I'm Angie's List. Right. If it's my job, so if I'm making a name for myself doing what I'm supposed to do, and I refer you to somebody else who doing what they say they do, if they don't do it, that's mess up their name, not my name.
Right, right.
If I find out about it and I keep referring them, then that's something different.
That's on me
But
though.
if I must give everybody their shot.
Yeah, that absolutely. Absolutely. Don't put you at the table and you shoot your shot. And then guess what we're gonna do? If I see you fumble, we're gonna come back. I'm gonna bring you back. And I'm gonna say, look, on Sunday, you might want to come by the house. We need to talk about this. But guess what? I'm gonna tell you the blessing right now. We got Zoom, so you ain't gotta come to my house.
Let's get on the call.
So we don't have any excuse not to educate people who's on that stair, who's climbing that ladder. We have no reason not to be able to get in a group and have a discussion about how to win. I was on the phone with some young people yesterday, 30 college students, and we was talking about nepotism. And some people were saying, I'm not hiring my family. And I'm like, huh? You're not gonna hire your family. That's who you're supposed to hire first and foremost. But guess what? When it comes to doing business with your family, you're supposed to grow your family that we're supposed to respect each other to do the work properly, because we're a reflection upon each other, right? Let's go back to the interdependent relationship.
Oh yeah.
I'm not the one doing everything. It's I gotta do something, you do something. I do something, you do something. When I get low, you push me up. When you get low, I push you up. If you fall back, I catch you and hold on if I'm stronger and do the best I can and figure out how to get you off me so you can get back up on your own. Because why should I do that for somebody that's not my family? Why? I'm going with family first. I'm going with friend first, right?
Well, I feel you. I can't say that I feel you as extreme, like where I'm gonna go with. So I feel you on as far as like having your people around you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that, and I believe in definitely what you said. Like basically, I got a responsibility to my family got a responsibility to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do that. I want us all to win together. Let's build something together for sure. The problem I have with the other person who was like, I'm not gonna hire my family, is that so you're gonna give opportunity to a stranger before you give to your family. And then, but on the flip side, I remember I was getting promoted at my job at the casino.
Mm-hmm.
And in my interview, because I was getting promoted within my same department, my boss asked me, he like, hey, well, of course he ain't talk like this, but he like, hey, you got a bunch of friends. You think you're gonna have a problem being in charge of you or being, the supervisor of your friends? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, if they really my friends, they wouldn't give me no problems.
That's true, but I'm gonna say this because I hire friends and I hire family. I haven't hired one of my cousins. I told him, I said, you better, because he was younger too. I had two cousins that worked for me. One cousin did really, really well, and one cousin did all right. And he know he did all right because I told him, I said, number one, you can't tell them that we related because I don't want them women coming after you, talking to you, asking you questions that you don't know how to answer. So you have to prepare your people. If they're your cousins or your friend, you got to prepare them what to talk about, what not to talk about. Well, number one, you don't talk about my business. Let's get that clear. There's rules to this. Being in this type of circle, doing what we doing, you don't tell my business. Nothing. When I got sick, my grandfather told me, Jason, don't tell nobody you're getting sick. Don't tell nobody you're sick. Do not do that because the vulture's coming for you. Don't do it. I had to listen. He told the cousins, you got to protect him right now because he's sick. They came and did everything that they knew to do to help, right? So you got to prepare your family. If you're going to work at nepotism, they have to be prepared for the job. I'm not saying give it to them if they're not prepared, but it's your responsibility to help prepare them. If you're in a higher position, you got to go through the motions. If they got to come by your house, one of my cousins would come by the house because he wanted to find out how to do the payroll, pass the checks out, go to the bank and deliver do the bank deposits. He came by the house and we did that, or we did it at night with the accountant. And he was I think he was 17. I think Corey was 17 or 18, and he was doing the banking for the business, taking the checks. Anything that wasn't direct deposit, he'll take the checks. We gave him that responsibility because it doesn't hurt nothing. But what did it do? He was confident because he had money in his hand. It wasn't his money, but he still was confident, and that helps you with confidence. He was able to talk to the bank manager, because I always told him, don't go to the teller unless the bank manager tells you to. You have built a relationship with the bank manager. That's who you build a relationship with. You don't talk to nobody else, especially about our business. But that's what I was taught. Go to the top. I ain't gonna start off at the bottom. My value is at the top because I'm a top kind of guy. So I want to talk to the top. And we work our way down and let the top tell us where we got to go and exercise, do what we're supposed to do. But we have to learn how to share. You got to share. You got to tell your good stories and your bad stories. Just imagine when 2008 came, I got all these relationships at the bank. And 2008 came, and guess what happened? Banks got closed. People that's lending was out of jobs. I had to start that whole process over. I had to get a new playbook so we could win. Doctors retiring. People go through things. You got to say, look, it's not always going to be pizza. You got to put some money away. Try to get, my grandfather used to always say, Jason, don't get on a mortgage. You better get something paid for. I had to listen to that. Times ain't always going to be good for you, boy. You got to listen to that. They're not saying that because they talking down to you or don't think you're going to be great. They're preparing you. Because guess what? It's sometimes that some mistakes was made. They wasn't my mistakes. I didn't make mistakes, but somebody on my team made the mistakes. But guess who it cost? And I got to fight my way out of that. And it's okay. But that's a lesson that you got to learn. That person that's on your team that has some control of some things and bump their gums and be talking to people and might turn somebody off, and you want them to be turned on, you got to have them discussions. Don't piss this person off. Don't piss nobody off. We got to be the humblest thing, because guess what? Number one, you got to remember you black. You black. The black person, and it's bad to say this, but it's black people that don't want you to succeed. It's black person. I know a black person that
it don't always, and I want to just be clear. It's not just people. It's not that they don't want you to succeed. Now there are people out there that are like that, but it's more that they don't know how to be cooperative and be team players. And then a lot of times people who are without, they trade complaints as communication. If you really do, and so if that's the only way my brain know how to think, even if I wanted to be right by you, I can't until I do the work of learning.
So what we've been doing now, first of all, we just had this happen. My team I have a young team, but I have an older mentoring team too. With my young team has some friends that work for Enterprise that went to school for marketing. And, they said, Jason, we want them on our marketing team, yada, yada, yada. So I said, okay, we got to go through the process. And we asked them, how do you respond to certain things? And how do you help people along, right? How do we communicate so everybody wins? And it was more of a me thing. I don't know if I want to do, no, so we had to kind of say, I had to kind of teach them that a certain type of people, when it comes to our people, we can't have on the team. They ain't ready yet. They just ain't graduated yet, because we can't have a lot of negative stuff about our own people. What our people not going to do? We got to have, okay, this is how I can add value to put this person succeed. I need you to come up the rear. When I'm tired, you got to come up and you got to start talking to these people so they can succeed. And we got to talk about growth, decision making, being direct at what we're doing. We got to talk about discipline. If you tell somebody you're gonna do something at 10 o'clock, do your best to get it done at 10 o'clock. Don't call them at 9:45. Call them at 8:30, because you know at 8:30 that you ain't gonna make it, or you had some, or if you got something to do at 10 o'clock the night before, start preparing for that. Don't wait till the last minute to iron your clothes. Don't wait for the last minute to read whatever your brief is you need to read. Know your vocabulary words. Know who you're going to communicate. Know who your audience is. Know those things. Try to understand. Try, like with you. I started calling you 2 days ago. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's talk. What's going on? How you doing? Right? So because I wanted to make sure I was comfortable with what I wanted to add with you, because we're building our community, right? We're talking about positive. We're talking about, hey, you can get over this. You can get through this. It just takes a little time. It takes all of us some time to get disciplined. It takes all of us some time to get courage.
The thing that I've learned is what it takes. It takes commitment and time, and the discipline gets developed along the way. Because with your commitment, you do it more and more frequently from wherever you start in your journey. So I had to learn a whole bunch of stuff that for some people they just got natural. Some stuff I didn't have to learn that I got natural that other people had to take a whole long time to learn. But it's the commitment to learning that expands your life and your opportunities and your awareness and thinking about helping more than just yourself and the me.
Right.
But sometimes you gotta get people through that me situation for them to see that, oh, wait a minute, something outside of me can help me. And then you flip the role on them. Now they gotta be the something outside of. You draw it like it's a process, and it takes carrying our people through that process as opposed to shaming them for not being at the end of the journey.
Now
And
look, I'm with you, but I do shame folks.
you do like shame way more than
I will. You know what I'm shaming them for is because I got a lot of people that's around me that are in positions, right? And they cannot tell me how they've utilized their position to bring somebody up. I got some young people that's been with me since they're 26. I started working with them when they was in the 9th grade. They're part of the Strategic Alliance Group. I set them down with vice presidents of banks. Matter of fact, I took one of them to the vice president of Community Reinvestment Act by one of their house to talk about what we can do with our community and what they thought, because they're 26, 24, 26. We have to take our young people and put them in a position so we can get rid of those fears. We have to figure out what do we do because we're marginalized. So we got to do some extras. We got to deliberately
say it might not even be young people. It might be, you know what I'm saying? Wherever you are, you can
wherever you are. Yeah, wherever you are.
Still gotta live the rest of your life.
Yes.
So you get when the thing you do when you start being active in creating the life you want to live is at least you had a hope of living that motherfucker instead of all them years of complaining about not having it.
Yes. Because I went to that point when I first got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. That was a scary point in my life, and couldn't nobody talk to me.
I bet.
None of my friends could really talk to me to make me feel better. I mean, nobody. Because Jason was a driven, I got to accomplish these goals kind of dude. And I'm losing. My grandmother said one day, I said, Grandma, tell me the truth. What did it look like? She said, you want to know the truth? I said, tell me the truth. She said, if you have a tub full of water and you let the cork out, she said, that's how your money going. She said, they don't know how to balance it all out. They paying all the bills at one time. You can't do that. I don't care what you're doing. You can't pay all the bills at one time. You can't do that. You got to figure out, balance out who you got to talk to make things work. You got to know where all the extra money come from. You got to know all those things, right? They didn't know how to do that. They didn't know how to talk to the creditors. They didn't know how to do that. They didn't know how to talk to the bank. They didn't know how to do that. And I learned because I had to, not because somebody taught me. I had to say, it was my first company that I got credit with. I actually was run out of money. They wouldn't give me credit for my medical supply store. They wouldn't give me credit. They said, well, if you buy something, you got to pay for it, because they didn't know me. I was young and I was ordering a bunch of hospital beds, wheelchairs. So I had to take my rent money. The rent money that I got, we was averaging like 10 grand a month in rent. So I would take the 10 grand a month I got and I would buy medical equipment with that. And I go behind a month on the house notes. And I had to wait for, it takes 15 days or 14 days for them to pay through Medicare. So I had to catch all that up with the bank. So I had to call and talk to them. You get where I'm coming from? This so I can start trying to get my jump. We spent with this company, we spent over $150,000 before they gave me credit. But guess what? I didn't know to ask. You know, I didn't know the point to ask again. So I started doing business like that where I was keeping my balance sheet good. But I didn't know, I had nobody tell me. You got to work through these things. And I did all that. Now I got multiple sclerosis. And they telling me that I can't work no more. They telling me I'm going to be the black men with multiple sclerosis die before women do. I mean, they telling me all this negative stuff. They made me go to a multiple sclerosis program. And this is why I didn't want to go to AA. Let me clarify this too. I went to a multiple sclerosis program. There's a bunch of women in there. There's like 2 dudes. Me and like a Hispanic dude was in there. The dudes they was in real bad shape. And my left side was acting up, weak, whatever. And they all had these old terrible stories. And I mean, it wasn't even about me. It was about listening to them, what they went through, make you want to cry every time you leave up out of there. So I said to myself, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing this. I'd rather stay home. I'm not taking these, because I had to take these injections in my thigh. And it was one girl gonna tell me, she said, Jason, because I wasn't telling my friends I had multiple sclerosis. So she came over one day and she caught me doing my little injection in my thigh. And she said, Jason, I can't date an addict.
I would say I would have that reaction like, are you shooting? Oh, I can't do that.
Hey,
I can't, I'm not on that journey.
Hey, and you don't understand how I responded to that. Like I wanted to cry. I actually did this and went to the bathroom. And I locked the door. She banged on the door, whatever. And she said, it doesn't that mean that, I mean, she went through this whole spiel. It doesn't mean that I don't, care about, love you and all that kind of stuff, but I can't do that, right? Because of her parents. And I'm in the bathroom, like, I don't even know how to tell this girl that I got multiple sclerosis and I'm in a bad place.
It's interesting that is like, you still couldn't tell her that you had it.
I was trying to figure it out.
You a fiend.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, because I had been telling myself, like I exercised in my mind, don't tell certain shit. You don't talk about certain shit. You're doing okay. You're taking these injections. You're looking okay. You walk a little slow, but I used to say I'm tired. I got a headache, right? So slow down, right? We be in the mall. I'm going walking someplace with somebody. Like, give me a second. I get there. I'm just tired, right? And it just hit me, and she really hurt me, just because she said dope fiend, right? Like I can't do that, but I'm like, I'm like a dope fiend because I got to take this shot twice a day in my thigh, and I ain't like doing it. And I ain't know. Here go other thing is, because I moved so slow, I had unlocked the door so she could just open the door and come in. So I got caught. So there was a whole lot of different things going on.
That's pretty funny because it's funny, but it's not. I don't want to be insensitive.
No, you know the thing. It's all comical to me.
Because I've had to inject migraine medicine before in my thigh, so I had to do it in my office at work. I can't imagine getting caught with my skirt up and my.
You see what I'm saying? Okay. There you go. So she coming in excited and everything, and I'm trying to get myself together. And she looking and she slow down and she don't say it like right away.
It's a moment for her. Like, it's probably for her. It's like, how did I not know?
See what I mean? Well, for me is why I unlocked that damn door. I could have made her way outside a second, but me being kind, I unlocked the door.
You supposed to let her come in. You're not supposed to be so damn secretive.
But you gotta understand where we are now. You gotta understand. We in Detroit. Everybody don't need to know what's going on with you. Everybody who say they're your friend is not your friend. There's a lot of vultures in low to moderate area communities. I don't care if you're in the city. I don't care if you live on the water in a gated community. It's still vultures out here that can get through that gate. If they know something, they gonna get to you. Okay? So we have to be protective of certain things. But I overcame that. I went to the bathroom because I was about to cry. So moreover, I didn't want to see me crying, right? And I did have a little tears in the bathroom by myself, but she ain't see it. She know right now that I cried because she was like, "Did you cry?" I said, "Yeah, I cried, but I wasn't gonna cry in front of you." You understand? So we go through these emotions.
And this was just somebody you was dating. This wasn't somebody that you was like in it to win it with.
Hey, look, I'm in it to win it. Well, it's always in it to win it with me. I'm not playing them games.
Okay, but
because I can't date like 3 or 4 different people. I don't have that kind of time. If I'm with you, I gotta be with you. I gotta be with you because of my goals. I can't do that. That's part of my discipline.
So, but you were at the stage of dating with her. Y'all was exclusive and committed.
Yeah, we was coming around that mountain.
You know you had it?
No, I wasn't telling nobody.
Damn, not even your woman?
She really like wasn't a woman yet. We was,
Then y'all, okay, that's what I was trying to ask. Like if she was your woman.
Oh, no. But I liked her a lot. We was getting to that point because I wasn't trying to tell nobody what was going on. I wasn't. It was one woman who knew that had been with me for 11 years. She knew, and she kind of knew what to do for me, whatever. And I wasn't telling nobody else. But it was psychologically it was a whole. Cause look, you got like my face was like this. Like I like to smile. Cause I tell jokes and I'm happy. My face was like this. So that means I couldn't go out. For a little while, I had to take steroids to get this back. I mean, all that hurt me because I'm looking in the mirror. I'm just looking in the mirror like, I like me, right? To like, what the hell is going on? And then I had to go to the question, God, like, God, what I done did to somebody? What I done did? But guess what? You got to go back to that book. My grandma said, you got to go back to the book. God reigns on the just and the unjust. And I had to say, okay, I'm just sometimes and I'm unjust at others.
So you got rained on.
So I got rained on.
I don't know that that's exactly how it works.
Hey, no, but what I mean,
I get to a point.
Things good is gonna happen to you, and things bad are gonna happen to you. You done have some great for a young black man to not have any felonies, to own property, work for a major corporation, and be able to give back to your community. I've won, and I'm still in my 20s at the time. I've won. You get where I'm coming from? So, and the thing that the people need to know, understand is, I wrote this down. My economics class, thank God to Miss Gohagan at Southwestern High School. She had us do current events and she said, write down your goals. I said I wanted to go to college. I wanted to work for a major corporation. I wanted to buy real estate. I wanted to own my own company. And get back to my community. I've done 4 out of the 5. I just didn't go to college. I wrote that down. And I had a scholarship to go to college, but I started working for Allstate at 17, so I didn't go. So I'm mad at what? And I had to, and I went to a psychiatrist too. I spent some time. I ain't spent a lot of time, but I spent some time.
Listen, ain't nothing wrong with you should not have to be the only person watching your mind.
Absolutely. You got to talk through it. But I went to the psychiatrist, right? I ended up liking the psychiatrist too.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. Oh man, I was fixated. That's why I had to stop going. She was the bomb. Hey, look, she was fine. She wore these tight tops, and she had always had a skirt on. And I would love talking to her. And I felt like invigorated when I was talking to her. And I said to myself, I told my grandmother, like, you can't do that. And I said I can fall in love with her because guess what? If I marry her, I always got a psychiatrist. She said it don't work that way.
That's not how it works. You would have to wait 5 years to date you after stopping seeing you.
Right.
Anyway.
But my thought was, as I'm going through this, I can lock her up real quick, right? Because she's doing all my business now, and she's like, oh, you're interesting. She's giving me all these accolades and things, right? So I'm like, okay, she feels the same way I feel, right? But it wasn't like that. She ain't feel that.
No, that's her job.
Right. But look, in my mind, Like, you know how you
to
said
her
about safe
like
place?
strippers. When you be telling, when the dudes tell them all their business and they go
Yeah,
to for counseling, it's the same. I'm here. You paying me to act like I care about you, okay?
yeah. My grandfather told me,
But
don't.
it's not acting like it's a genuine care, but it's maintaining those
Yeah,
boundaries.
but you can't, right, the boundaries. But I was in a safe place because it was the best place I could be to be able to share everything. Because we're on the same type of level. We got the same kind of friends and stuff. We talk, we got the same kind of people. We both know judges, mayors, and all that kind of stuff in the community. And it was okay, right? So I started to like it. But when I went to my grandmother said, it seemed like you were happy because I went on Thursdays. I remember it. Thursday was the best day. My grandma said, "Why every Thursday you so jolly and joyful and stuff when I come by here?" I was like, "Cause you know it's my therapy day." Matter of fact, I only been home for 20 minutes. So she said, "Tell me about it." I told her about it. She was like, "Tell me what's your therapist look like?" I told her my therapist look like. She said, "Oh, so you got a crush on your therapist?" I was like, "Yup." My grandma was like, "No, you got to change therapists because you're gonna hurt yourself."
Cause you change your mindset change.
Yes,
That
but
so
I needed that though. Hey, that's the best thing to happen. I needed that confidence. Going in like this, hand ain't working right. I needed that confidence, right?
I'm
Because
not doubting it.
between her and the physical therapist and the occupational therapist, they got me right. They got me right. Meant psychologically, because all three of them always told me to watch my thoughts. They got me to this point to where I'm at today to watch my thoughts of manifestation, what I write down, who am I talking to, what am I talking about. If I'm not talking about getting better, we're not having a conversation. If I'm not talking about I'm progressing, I can move my big toe now a little bit. Then my big toe get to move then I move my foot. Now I got working on my. If we're not having no kind of conversations, what are we talking about?
So that is true. So I believe in that when you are ill. If you know of a person, so like how do I put this? It's just I don't know the exact verse in the Bible because I ain't no Bible thumper. But the guy, there was a reverend who came to the church and he used this as his example. But at my church, it's a unity church, and we talk about training your mind. And after this, we're gonna have to wrap up. But he taught we believe that our reality is reflected back through us by the thoughts held in our subconscious and conscious mind.
Mhm.
Um, and so you do the work on your mind so that when the storms come, you have what it takes to still work the process, and your house will be built on rock instead of like a house that's built on sand. That's the Bible part.
Stay ready, so you don't got to get
But
ready.
yes, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So if I'm ill, I do believe in the power of community and the power of thought and prayer and intention. But the people that I'm on call to do that are the people that I know have their own stuff cleared up, or this is their gift that they do that. I'm not gonna call regular old, negative
Hey,
Nancy, because negative Nancy gonna be directing her thoughts about how sick I am and and so she gonna be adding energy away from my good.
look at you. I had to learn that. I had a list of people that can come to my house, and they did it based on their attitude. I was told to listen to my friends' conversation when they're talking to me, and we had a little check box. If they talk about negative, how much negative they talk, every time they say something, every time they would say something negative, check, negative, check, negative,
This
check. So
was assigned by who?
the psychiatrist,
Okay. Okay.
because the psychiatrist, the occupational therapist, and the physical, they all work together. They was working for me, so they all work. They would have a meeting about my case, and it was all about the mental. Like they like, well, he can get this, he can get better mentally because he's already strong mentally because all the stuff that he did. So they focused on my mind, and I just had to follow directions. That's all I had to do. My whole job. Look, they said, Jason, your job is to follow directions. You ain't got to think about how we do that. You follow our directions. This is what we want to do. So I had a sheet. Every time I talked to somebody on the phone, I had to check like where they were in their life. It's nothing against it where they are. I just don't need that energy. I just don't need that energy right now because I'm low. If I'm low and you low, we don't need that.
We'll go low together.
We'll be depressed, right? So that was one of the first things we did. Second thing we did was, who comes to your home? Do they fall in any of these categories? Are they self-sufficient? If they're not self-sufficient, they don't come around you. Are they talking about acceleration in life, growing, growing somewhere in life? Okay, those are people that you need around you right now. So I still do that same makeup to this day, but I help people that are on a positive trajectory, and I introduce positive to people who might not be thinking about it. But guess what I do? I have to do that on my time. I have to make sure that my energy is right for that, to handle that. Because some days I go in meetings, I feel like a saw is going through my head, and I have to go through that. So I don't need all that negative on me around all the time, because I don't know when my body is going to be right and when it's going to be wrong. It just does it on its own. Most of the time I can feel it because I get a real tingly headache before stuff starts shutting down, acting crazy. That's my trick. That's what I know stuff is triggering. I know that I got to drink more water. I got to make sure I'm eating diet. My diet is well. I have to go do some things. I close my eyes. I meditate. I start thinking about positive stuff and get rid of that headache, right? But if you got a lot of negative energies coming at you, and you're not controlling it, you're in trouble. And oftentimes that's why we can't excel, because we haven't got in tune to know what we can handle and what we cannot handle. We have to get in tune with ourselves first. Meditate. You can start off. Oh, there was something I want to address real quick. We talked about reading. I didn't like to read growing up. My grandmother started me off reading 3 minutes a day. My 3 minutes turned to 10 minutes. My 10 minutes turned to 30 minutes. My 30 minutes turned to an hour. The next thing that they taught us was completion. Always complete. If you start something, finish it. Don't let somebody knock you off your square where you can't finish it, where they thought you couldn't finish. You make the decision about to finish and make sure you finish something. And write down what you learn from where you are when you get ready to finish. I don't want to do this no more. So I don't want people that have lack of to say, well, because I don't have, I can't grow. I can't do these things. I want them to sit down and really find out and think about their resources that they have. Because there's some times that I had to sit down, and I still do it to this day, to accomplish goals, to find out, let me write down who I know, who do I need to know, and then find out, how do I get to know those people. And it's okay if I'm in a room and they don't look like me and I don't know anything. It's okay. That's a little courage. Listen to a rap song to get you strong, and then go into that meeting.
I do that all the time. I got my playlist.
Right. Get whatever your trigger is to make you strong. It's a movie you got to watch that hypes you up. Watch that movie or think of a scene from that movie, and then go into that room. Because I don't want to sit here and make it seem like this is easy for me, because it's not. It's not easy. I make it look easy, and my grandmother say that's your problem. You make it look too easy. So sometimes folks not gonna respect you because you make it look so easy. Sometimes you got to make it look hard, son. She just told me that. So it's hard, but guess what? You got to get up and exercise.
It's easier the more you do it.
Yes.
But it's hard to keep doing it.
It's hard to keep doing it when you're doing self-actualization. It's hard when something stifles your growth. And it's not you, because you're 20 calls, you're sending out your emails, you're showing up at places. But timing, energy in the universe, all those things have to come about. But detox yourself from negativity. You got to do that first. You have to detox. And by me being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis taught me that. Energy is very, very, very important. Toxicity with people. And sometimes you got people around you, they don't know that they're toxic. And you don't know. Have a problem and start talking about you got a problem. You got an opportunity going on. My daddy said there's not problems, there's opportunities. So tell them you got an opportunity going on and see how they respond to you. You got to figure that out, because you're going to have some good times in your life. You're going to have some bad times, and you got to be okay with it. You got to say, what's my lesson I'm learning? I was drinking every day. I'm in a plane like it's a taxi going to having a party, going to parties all around the country. I'm going to parties. I'm having parties, pharmaceutical rep parties, doing all these things. Your body gonna get wore out. And guess what? We don't need to have all that. All that partying. Listen, especially if you black, we ain't got time to party right now. It's time to plan. If you're in your 30s, it's time to plan. We got to start preparing for our future. We got to have allies that look like us, allies who don't look like us, and we got to set goals for these communities. We have to, and we can do it. You know, with therapists like yourself and other people, and really caring.
Well, I'm a coach. I'm a personal transformation coach.
Okay, transform some folks so we can all get on team. We got to get on team right now. It's very critical right now that we get on team, especially after what we just coming out of the last 4 years. It's probably going to set us back 20 years because the recession still ain't really came out like it is. It's here. When money's not moving, when mortgages are not getting, people not getting mortgages and the bank is stopped with certain things, the only thing that's holding them together right now is the federal government loans, pushing money to the banks. It's not moving like it should be moving because you got so many people off work right now. And it's really going to hit. And we really got to come together and think in positive because mental health, this type of time that we're in, it exacerbates mental health. Yeah. Some people was just getting good with themselves, and then this happened. Now they go backwards. Now we gotta educate, we gotta encourage them to move forward, you know, so we gotta be positive with each other and speak life into each other and say what we can do instead of what we can't do. We can get this done.
Because it feel better. Even if that shit ain't true, feeling better along this tough ass journey is still a better journey. Feeling better, feel better than what feeling bad.
Well,
encourage somebody. I'm just
encourage them.
Speaking life, the building teams.
Yeah.
All of doing that stuff. So sometimes people tell themselves they don't do that because it's backstabbers, it's backbiters, and all of that. But either way, you walk in a journey of your life. Be smart, be strategic, learn and know as much as you can. But feeling better is worth it because it feel better. Being right about wrong shit feel terrible. That ain't always the goal. Sometimes you just got to be minding your business and getting to where you going.
Sometimes it is. And look, mind your own business first. Cause I can't dictate what somebody else do with I can try to be positive, but look, I got it. My grandmother always said, are you minding your business? If you minding your business, because you really ain't got time to mind nobody else's, because you're not in it with them 24 hours. No. You got to mind your 24 hours and set the goals and keep pushing with your goals. You have to set goals.
But we got to cheer you on, this cheer bear. Although I got yes, where it go? Okay.
Hey, cheer bear.
Why I can't get it right? There we go.
Hey, cheer
bear. We got to cheer you on and what you're working with, and we're gonna have to wrap this up because we've been on way too long.
Okay.
It ain't been bad conversation, though. That's a sign of good conversation.
I believe so too.
So what are you up to, Mr. Dixon? Where can the people find you? How can they be a part of what you're working with? How do they get on team?
How do they get on team? Well, if you want to get on team, they can email me at jdixon@strategicalliancecommunitydevelopment.org. jdixon, DIXON, @strategicalliancecdc.org. I'm sorry.
Say it one more time. One more time.
The letter J, DIXON, @strategicalliancecdc.org.
This is just, that's Cheer Bear's hip roll. He's known for hip rolling people on when they cheer him.
Okay.
Or she.
So we're actually doing a program with Flagstar Bank. It's Section 8 to home ownership. We got a workforce development program that focuses on the digital divide, teaching people about fiber optics so we can get connected. So we won't have the problem we have with minorities not being able to have the bandwidth they need to get the job done, educate so kids can be educated on a consistent basis using technology. And we want to be a part of that process. We want to be a part of that economic spectrum when it comes to the connectivity, because right now we see that's what we're lacking in our communities. And when you look at fiber optics and connectivity, the digital divide hurts us across the spectrum of finance, education, manufacturing, food services. There's one more. There's one more. I can't think of what it is. But at the end of the day, we need to be connected. And our community is marginalized when it comes to connectivity. And we think we have the internet, and we really don't. You know, there's a lot of people here that are paying $10 for the internet, but they can't stay on the internet. You know, they say, well, we'll give you a package for you. But after a week or two, and you got 3 kids in your house, you got no more bandwidth, so they can't utilize this device for upward mobility. And we have an opportunity to do that. And that's what we're really focused on. You know, we got some NBA players on team. We got.
I think that being able to be connected when, as we could see from the pandemic, that's the way the whole world is working with each other.
Yes.
Like whether or not the pandemic definitely made it more vivid with everybody having to stay in shelter in place.
Yeah.
But the idea that we aren't living in a digital age and being outside of the digital age is an oppression.
Yeah, it's very oppressive, because even with healthcare, that's the other one, the fifth one was healthcare. Because if I don't have this device, like if I'm a senior citizen, I don't need to go to the doctor's office and COVID is there, because I'm more susceptible to catch it, even if I have a mask on. So if I can use this device and you can see me, and I can show you if something, a lesion or something's on my body, not on my brain, but on my body, if I have something going on, I can talk to you. I can send you my blood pressure from my nurse being in there. And then that's how they bill. If they can't see you through the device, the doctor can't bill, so they're not going to see you. And you need an hour, 45 minutes to be on that device so your doctor can take care of your health care needs in the situation that we're in.
And a lot of seniors don't just simply, if they've been retired, they don't know how to do that stuff.
Right.
Because in the workforce is where a lot of the technology is.
You get your education.
So if I'm in a manufacturing job, or I'm in a frontline customer service job or something like that, I got social media on my phone. If I'm not doing something, like I don't necessarily know that I need this access to the internet, but when I think of upward mobility and doing research and figuring out what it takes it is such an impediment as far as not being able to have access to the internet.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that all across the country in the Black and Latino communities. And that lets us know that you still wasn't respecting us, and it's 2020. You didn't respect us enough to make sure that we can be connected and have education if we have an emergency, a pandemic.
And I want to be very clear, because of I can already hear the pushback in my mind. Well, why didn't y'all respect yourselves to be able to earn to get it? It is the compounded effect of oppression.
Yeah, absolutely.
The economic restrictions layering on top of each other. So when you say, why didn't, you still didn't make it accessible, it's because you didn't make money accessible. If you made money accessible, we would do all of these things that you're saying.
If you stop trying to put us in jail, right, astronomical numbers, having fathers in the community, in the neighborhood, because it started like that in the 60s. They started taking, the jail just turned to lock a brother up, lock him up. You said you got people in jail for crack cocaine 20 years. That's not what is it called? It's a word for that. I'm trying to think what the word is.
Mass incarceration?
No, mass incarceration on a Black man is that's serious, but it's not a deadly offense, so to speak.
Oh yeah, violent
offense.
Not a violent offense.
Right, it's not a violent offense. So why am I going to jail for this? That you put, hey, watch this. That you put in our community. For the Contra affair.
I understand.
You put that in my community, and then you told me it was cool. So it started spreading. It was cool. You could feel good. That's why we would need to feel good, because you've been oppressing us. So we needed a drug to make us feel better. And that's the drug that we chose to make us feel better, because you've been oppressing us, and you took the jobs out of our community and sent them overseas. So that's it. I'm done.
So we know why that's a part of our why.
Yes.
And why we do the work of thinking of something outside of ourselves and making the world a bigger and better place. Yes. Because the more liberation we add to the world, the less oppression can exist. And I know that everybody might not be a leader in their industry, but they can be a leader in their life. And a lot of times, what it takes to learn that is just simply being outside of survival mode and giving you the time to figure it out while you ain't thinking about how you gonna live. Um, so with that being said, thank you, Jason, for being here. Thank you for talking to us on the comfy couch. Sometimes with my draw, I guess it is the country couch.
Mm.
And thank you for being a pillar in the community and doing the good work that you do. We will
Well, thank
talk
you.
to you soon.
All right. Have a good one.